Hi everyone, I'm Andrew Greenwald from the Office of Student Leadership, Involvement, and Civic Engagement, and I'm so excited to bring together these 6 student leaders to share how their organizations have had success in the virtual space, in hopes that it will be helpful to you in your organization as you are pivoting your activities to be virtual for the fall semester. While university decisions are still being finalized, SLICE is recommending that student organizations plan for moving the vast majority of activities to an online format. Rest assured though, SLICE is here to help. So feel free to head to our website and fill out a meeting request form to talk through how we can help your organization. More information will also be coming soon about organization training and recruitment efforts, including a virtual fair alternative and a new involvement week that will take place from September 7th to the 11th. In the meantime, make sure your bridge page is fully updated with your organization's new leaders and follow Slice at CMU on Instagram for any updates. With that said, let's get started. I'm excited to have representatives here from the Black Graduate Student Organization, Scotch and Soda, CMU Saans, the Undergraduate Entrepreneurship Association, Puzzle Hunt CMU, and the Panhellenic Council. We're going to start this panel off with introductions from the student leaders and have them all share examples of how their organizations have had success in the virtual space. At the end, we'll have some questions for them to answer that will be helpful as it relates to your own organization. Mahika, why don't you start us off with how CMU Saans has been ACA-zooming?
Yeah, so for sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Hika. I'm currently a rising junior in the CMU School of Design. I'm SAUS's PR chair. So SAUS is CMU's all-female South Asian a cappella group, and thus far in quarantine, we've done a number of things to try to stay active as a group. When quarantine first started, we released our first album, Bloom, on SoundCloud and YouTube. This album was something we had ready for some time now, and quarantine was the perfect opportunity to publish it. Secondly, we've been consistent with our social media presence and engagement. A tradition we have within SAUS is a weekly Sunday post called SAUS Sundays, where a member of our group will perform a cover or something really quick. When quarantine started, we reworked SAUS Sundays to be multiple members singing together, recording individually, then editing them together afterwards. Our motivation behind this was primarily to stay connected as a group and hear our voices together virtually as they are during practice and other performances in person. Through social media, we're able to share a passion for music with so many people, which has been amazing. We did a larger project, recording and editing together a full arrangement, also bringing back some SAUS alumni, which is something that we hadn't done before quarantine. This arrangement gained so much traction, more than anything we'd ever posted before, which was amazing to see. We recognize the importance of social media engagement and reaching whoever we can, whether that be within CMU or groups all across America. Quarantine has prompted us to stay connected to each other and others as best as we can virtually, and we hope to continue to do so in the upcoming semester. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Samarth. I'm a rising junior studying stats and machine learning and the current president of the Undergraduate Entrepreneurship Association. If you don't know, the UEA is sort of like your go-to club for tapping into the CMU entrepreneurship ecosystem. So basically we do a variety of different events throughout the year, like boot camps, interview series, pitch competitions. We help fund student startups and workshops and more. Every year in the spring, we run our flagship pitch competition, which is called the CMU Venture Challenge. We award over $20,000 in prizes, and it's an annual startup competition where student founders from across the country come to the Short Center, which is in the Tepper School of Business, to pitch their startup ideas for feedback and legal services and cash prizes. However, this year we were sort of told that the school would go virtual a couple of weeks before our event was supposed to happen. So we had to make the decision to either to cancel it or turn it all virtual. So we decided to go virtual, and with virtual competitions comes great benefits. So you don't really have to worry about like the venue or the food or the transportation, but there are also like a bunch of other challenges that come with it, making sure that the judges and the speakers and panelists and founders are able to pitch their startups. But I would say out of everything, all the other challenges that comes with a virtual competition, what I found is the most important part is the communication with the people that are organizing it. Because especially during the competition, there's so many things that I just tell one of my board members, hey, go do this, right? And that's just not possible. So communication is really hard, is really important. And I would really strongly, I would really emphasize that you should, if you're running a competition, to focus heavily on that. And then I would also say that finding ways to keep participants engaged is also really important. A good way to try and do this is to get interesting speakers involved and then get the participants of your challenge will hopefully be more engaged and not just sort of zone out and leave the Zoom event. So happy to talk about how that went and how we're planning the fall semester.
Hi, my name is Electra Petrakis, and I'm a junior studying cognitive science, and I'm the current president of the Panhellenic Council. So the Panhellenic Council is the largest women's organization on campus, and it's the governing council of the 6 national Panhellenic conference chapters at CMU. The Panhellenic Council is also responsible for organizing initiatives for all chapters, such as recruitment, community events, educational programming, and cross-council communications that promote our values. So this past spring, the Panhellenic Executive Board organized a diversity inclusion training for all Panhellenic members. The training focused on identity, privilege, unconscious bias, and how to be an active bystander. And we had a few in-person trainings before spring break, and we were planning on holding the remaining trainings after we got back to campus. However, since everything became virtual after break and we wanted all members of the community to undergo the training, we decided to recreate it online. We received feedback that members found the training to be helpful, and next year's executive board will also host the training online. Additionally, last semester, members from the Panhellenic Interfraternity and Multicultural Greek Councils participated in 2 student-led committees focused on Greek housing and university Greek relations. The committees were tasked with identifying the top priorities the university should focus on in an effort to enhance the overall Greek experience. Although this initiative was planned thinking that we would be on campus for the entire semester, committee members were still able to collect feedback from students through using Zoom. At the end of April, members from both committees presented their findings and recommendations to university leaders, Greek students, and advisors, ultimately attracting over 150 participants in this virtual town hall.
So I'm gonna go. Hi everybody, my name is Brianna Brown. I'm currently a graduate student studying electrical and computer engineering. I'm pursuing my master's degree and I'm about to go into my 3rd and final semester. I am currently the vice president of the Black Graduate Student Organization, and our organization is dedicated to creating an inclusive environment for underrepresented minorities on campus. Nonetheless, you do not have to be Black in order to join the organization. So since entering the virtual space, given that we are graduate students and we are a very social club, we normally have happy hours at local bars within the Pittsburgh area. So once we entered the virtual space, we decided to continue doing that by having our happy hours be on Zoom. And while we had these Zoom happy hours, we would give away free food to those, we would have free food delivered to those members who showed up on time. So if you were one of the first 3 members to enter one of our rooms, then we'd send you free Chipotle. Another thing that we did within our organization is that we had one of our members who hosts, like normally on campus when we're not under social distancing, she would do 305 fitness dance classes. So we actually paid her to host a couple dance classes for the members. So we had, I think, 3 weeks where she would just do every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, she would have the members come to her virtual dance class and we'd dance and work out in order to stay fit during these times where we're stuck at home. In addition to that, we did a Juneteenth celebration a couple weeks ago in which we had a game night and we had people playing trivia and we played a game called Code Names, and the winners were able to win up to $100 of Amazon gift cards as rewards for winning the games. And finally, we did have a check-in event last month in which we spoke to our members about the state of the world, in which we talked about things such as the George Floyd incident and how people felt about race and things going on campus, and really what they thought could happen, what they thought needed to improve, and giving us suggestions as to what we should be doing as a club. So within that event, we had it on Zoom, and we did have a relatively large turnout for us because normally our turnout is about 15 people, but here we had about 35. So what we did was we separated people into breakout rooms so that they would have chances to speak to e-board members, and that's really how we navigated that event.
To introduce myself, I'm Liam from Puzzle Hunt CMU. We're an organization which puts on a semesterly all-day puzzle solving event called the Puzzle Hunt. And normally a CMU Puzzle Hunt has a number of in-person and on-campus activities. We hold open and closing ceremonies, in-person interactive puzzles, visit teams to give advice or hints, and we have runaround puzzles which require visiting several places on campus. For obvious reasons, none of these were possible for the spring 2020 hunt, so we needed replacements. We filmed and animated an opening video for our ceremony and used a YouTube live premiere, which lets you set a specific time for the video to be released, so everyone would watch it at the same time. We held our closing ceremony on Zoom, created an online hint system, and made several digitally interactive puzzles and a Google Maps runaround instead, most of which were pretty well received. However, Puzzle Hunt CMU was lucky in that we already had the digital infrastructure that we needed to go all online. We coordinate meetings through a staff Discord already. We already distribute puzzles through our website, and we have web developers who are ready to handle our new demands. There are already several puzzle hunts from other organizations that are already all online, some even using a version of our software. So what we were doing had a precedent. In fact, being all online allowed us to expand our audience in a massive way. Spring Hunt 2020 was our biggest event by far, bringing in over 1,400 registrants, thanks to an increased audience, more advertising, and increased demand for entertainment at home. I say all of this because the success of our organization going online might be hard for other organizations to replicate. For us, adapting to an all-online format meant axing a few portions of our event and writing our puzzles with these constraints in mind, along with a few changes to our web server, rather than entirely rethinking our event and constructing entirely new infrastructure. If it's possible for your organization, I'd recommend having your own software and servers for events instead of relying on outside services, since having fine control of your own event makes it easier to adapt to difficult and changing situations. With that in mind, Puzzle Hunt CMU is very happy to share with other organizations advice for running an online event. And if you got in contact with us through our website or our email, we'd love to share more. Thank you.
Alrighty, so hi, I'm Emily. I'm a rising senior biochemistry major, and I'm the president of Scotch and Soda Theater, or SNS as we call it. That is CMU's extracurricular theater club. So we are entirely non-majors, and we are entirely student-run. So every single aspect of production, from onstage, backstage, management, we do all of it. I think it goes without saying that doing theater right now is a little difficult. We are not the only ones dealing with this. Take a look at Broadway or any other theater in the world. But I'm really glad to say that we have found some initial success in the virtual space, and we're looking forward to continuing that for the fall. We really just wanted to look for ways to keep our members feeling connected to one another and feeling creative through doing theater. So some things we did in the spring, we partnered with the radio station WRCT for their carnival broadcast, where we did a radio play, and we did some audio-only improv comedy and sketch comedy, which was something we've never gotten to do before, so that was really exciting. And then a little bit later in the semester, we did 3 virtual local performances where everybody was recorded separately, edited together, and then similarly to Puzzle Hunt, we premiered it on YouTube and had everybody commenting in the live feed, and it was super fun. Of course, it's a little bit different than what we normally do, but it was really, really nice just to kind of stay connected and just keep doing theater. Looking for the fall, our largest production pretty much all year is our October production, and that process actually begins in May. In May, of course, we had no idea what the fall was going to look like, so we decided we're going to play it safe. We're going to do something virtual because no matter what happens, that can continue. So we have tweaked our model a little bit, and we needed to find a show that kind of fit into this new mold. Thankfully, 2 of our members came up with the show that we actually are going to be doing. It's a show called Songs for a New World. It's a really unique show, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but it is going to be rehearsed and edited together. Everything's going to be done remotely. All rehearsals are going to be done remotely, and then it's going to be put all together into some sort of final performance. And we're going to be doing tech in a very different way. So instead of having lighting hung up in economy, we're going to be pulling from people's desks, lamps, and things like that. But it's a new frontier that we're exploring, and it's really exciting. It's going to be a challenge, but I think if we overcome it, this will be really the first time Scotch and Soda has done something like this, and I think that will be really rewarding.
All right, so I do want to move into some questions and answers. So I'm going to throw some questions out there, and whoever wants to answer this one, go ahead and answer away. So our first question is, what is your advice on how to keep your members engaged in a virtual setting?
I can take this one. So I think the biggest thing for engaging members in a virtual setting is just finding something that everybody in the club is united by, just some sort of common interest to keep everyone interested. It also helps them to helps to give them something to look forward to. It could be something as simple as like my organization has like monthly meetings where we just meet and play games like Scribble and code names, or it could be something more concrete like we've done planned performances and events. But I think the biggest thing is just communicating with people and letting them know that you're still active and the club is still active and that we're all here for each other.
Awesome. Does anyone else have anything to add about engaging their members?
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I agree. Communication is very important. You should definitely ask your members what they want to see and what they would like to do within the organization and figure out ways to engage them that way. But another thing is, it's kind of the same as what we've done in the past, like giving away food. So like I said, we did give away Chipotle and we have given away Amazon gift cards, and that has been a really cool incentive to getting people to come to our meetings because it's like, get food.
Yeah, similarly for us, a lot of it was the same thing, but online. We've been writing puzzle hunts, but we also do them together. So we did a bunch of online puzzle hunts together, and we also did a online escape room. So those were like things that were already part of our organization, but now you're just doing them online. So for us, that was pretty neat.
Awesome. How did you start thinking originally about pivoting a traditional in-person event to a virtual event?
I'd love to answer this one. So the first big things that we started considering as a board were safety and sort of inclusivity, I guess you could say. What event can we do that's going to be safe in this new world? And what can we do that's going to allow the most amount of our members to be involved in it? When we were thinking about the fall and doing an in-person production, we realized even back in May, that's probably not going to be safe. And as we started hearing about hybrid models, there would only be certain numbers of students on campus, everybody else would be at home. If we did an in-person production, we would be excluding probably half of our members. And that, I just didn't think that was fair. So this virtual production allows as many people as possible to be involved and allows them to be involved safely. So that was a really big deal. And then, like I mentioned, we sort of had to tweak the structure a bit because, normally our shows involve dance numbers, lots of singing, lots of harmonies, lots of moving parts. That doesn't really work when you're doing it in front of your computer. So Songs for New World is definitely different in tone than shows we've normally done. But since it is a song cycle, there aren't any scenes per se, there's not any dialogue, there's not really a setting. It just sort of takes place where it is, and every song is sung separately. So that makes it really easy to put together. But as we have started this process and sort of what we're working through right now is, again, trying to think of ways to keep as many people involved as possible. Because like I mentioned, SNS isn't just actors, we're the people behind the scenes as well. And since we don't have a set to build and paint and decorate, how do we make sure that those members still feel fulfilled throughout this year? So we're working on that right now. It's still an ever evolving process. And the advice I would give, more than anything, is, stay flexible and stay communicative, because we've never done this before. We're figuring this out as we go along. But, I think our board and the production staff of our show has really kept that in mind and is keeping that in mind as we move forward. And we have meetings about how do we include more people? How do we make sure this is safe? How do we put something on to the caliber that people expect? So, yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to add? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I can take a stab at this. Like I mentioned, basically we didn't really have a choice. If you don't know too much about the pitch competition space for startups, around March, April is pitch competition season, sort of, I like to call it. All the universities have them. So yeah, we just didn't have a choice because students were already registered. We had sponsors. We didn't want to let them down. We had judges lined up. So some competitions were canceling, but we just didn't really have a choice. Another thing that I just thought of that's unrelated to this question that I think is important for like more professional oriented clubs. So clubs that are maybe helping students build their skills or resumes and getting them like jobs. I think this time is like a really good opportunity to get really cool speakers involved. So many people that are CMU alums are really thinking about how they can give back. And maybe there's an alum that was part of your organization that works at a really cool company, or students would love to hear from them. Putting together panels is actually really interesting because it not only helps your members, but you can blast that out to students that are beyond CMU and grow your brand, grow your club's brand, which might not help in the short term, but maybe long term, it helps you get that extra sponsorship, or 2 or 3 years from now, it might help you grow your event bigger. So I think speakers are really important, and tapping into the CMU network is something that we were looking into, and I think we definitely will do, because also just putting together speakers is a little less work than putting together an entire competition. You send everybody just like a Zoom link and they hop on, and you let them do the work by talking about their experience. So yeah.
Our next question, so what improvements or changes based on past virtual events will you be implementing moving forward?
So there were 2 big new systems that we implemented for the most recent Puzzle Hunt. We had our new hint system and our new advertising. So our hint system was a pretty massive improvement over our old plan, which was basically either respond to emails or physically go visit teams which were struggling. And while our hint system is unlikely to entirely replace those things, having a defined system for the process makes things much more manageable. If the hints just come in a queue and we can respond to them one by one, we don't have to have an informal or system that might leave someone out or not help people who need a hint. And for advertisement, we did 2 very small seeming things. We put ourselves on the online Puzzle Hunt calendar and made a post on Reddit, which sounds like almost nothing, but apparently was where most people who hadn't already done the hunt or found out about it from word of mouth found about our hunt from. So we're definitely going to be doing that again. Even if most of the people that attracted weren't CMU students, those people are still 100% welcome to participate in the event. So that's all I have to say about that.
Does anyone else have any changes that they would want to talk about?
Yeah, actually this has to do a little bit with what Samarth just said. We've been put in a situation that has allowed us to become very creative with the internet and with this network that we have. So I know my organization is definitely reaching out to other schools and other people who probably would not have been able to come to our events before. We're trying to reach a broader network from not just people who are in Pittsburgh, but people who are like across the world. So, for example, we really wanted to have an alumni panel this year, or so just have people give their advice on what to do after college. Now, instead of just reaching local alumni in the Pittsburgh area, we can reach alumni from all over the country, all over the world. So really what we're doing is we're expanding our reach through Zoom and through all of these online platforms.
Yeah, definitely. Great. So our next question, what are you currently working on for the fall semester in terms of virtual programming?
I can take this. So every fall, the Panhellenic Council has recruitment. And so this year, we're also going to be implementing a virtual recruitment option. So anyone that wants to go through recruitment virtually can do that. And since it's usually a 3-day event, we hope that people will feel more comfortable doing it virtually, because that would limit like the exposure and everything that people would have to each other, and make it safer. So we'll be doing that, and we'll be using Zoom and using breakout rooms, and we'll be connecting chapters to potential members that way. And another thing that we'll be doing is we're going to be having virtual community events. So we're hosting an event with Accenture and with Women in Business. So we hope that this is a good way to connect the Panhellenic Council and its chapters to other clubs on campus, but also to our alumni and to connect current and former members to each other.
Awesome. I know recruitment is on everyone's minds for the fall semester, so I'm excited that Greek Life will be participating in a virtual form of recruitment. Anyone else want to talk about what they're planning for the fall semester? I know Scotch and Soda already sort of gave us a preview of what they're doing for the fall. If anyone else wants to talk about their plans.
Puzzle Hunt's going to do another Puzzle Hunt in the fall. Can't
Great.
say much more than that at this stage, sorry.
Yeah, for entrepreneurship, we're lucky in that we have a little bit of extra cash that we hadn't spent. So we hosted like more pitch competitions to fund student startups. We usually do like startup tours. So like we went to like Duolingo and like Uber ETG before, but that can't happen. So like I mentioned about the speakers, I think we'll be bringing the startup tours to Zoom. So trying to get students engaged. And then also there's a bunch of CMU startups that are in Short Center that are looking to grow really fast. And I think there's a lot of students that would love to work on projects through them. So we're looking at ways to help connect students, especially freshmen that are interested in entrepreneurship, to the startups that are happening and building like really cool products.
All right, so our last question, what platforms have you all found to be the most successful for your event or initiative? And then what platforms maybe that you tried that were not successful that you probably won't use again? Or is Zoom the going platform?
The only advice that I would have is we did one of our members like member only events. It's like our end of year event. We premiered it on Facebook, and this is very random, but everybody, was commenting like, yes, clap, 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 whatever. And Facebook apparently marks you for spam if you comment too much, and then you get your account all locked down. So that happened to me, but that doesn't happen on YouTube. So my 2 cents from experience is if you're premiering something and you know that your members are going to be spamming the chat a lot, maybe stay off of Facebook. But that is the only advice I can give with that. And that's 2 cents from my own experience and my own stupidity from typing too fast, so.
As far as Puzzle Hunt goes, we made use of a lot of different platforms, but like I said, our core platform for the actual running of the Puzzle Hunt is our homemade software. So a lot of it comes down to we only really use the platform for its very specific purpose, and Puzzle Hunts tend to need a lot of different multimedia things or like lots of ways to communicate with people. So we think that trying to get everything onto one platform is really difficult and not worth it. And we'd say either use something as it's advertised for and don't try and coerce it into being something more than it is. And if you need something that's not there, you might have to make it yourself.
Some of my advice, well, not really advice, but we've mainly been using Zoom. So I just think that no matter what you do, you should always account for the potential of your event being big based on where you advertise it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're advertising your events on social media, even if it's only for CMU students, make sure one, you have a password and that the email is for, that it only allows emails that are in CMU, and also account for the possibility of you having a larger than normal crowd. I mean, like when we were in person, we probably had only from 15 to 20 members showing up per meeting, but there was one meeting that we had where there were about 30 to 35. So really you just gotta account for the potential of more people coming and like how you're going to run your event from then on. If it's interactive.
Great.
Yeah, I guess this reminds me of something that happened during our live event. This was when like that Zoom bomb stuff was happening when people were joining, and I guess we didn't password protect our event, and I'm pretty sure our event got like Zoom bomb. Like someone just came in during like the Q&A and started asking like random questions, and we couldn't tell whether or not they were actually part of the event or whether or not they just joined. I'm pretty sure it got Zoom bomb. So long story short, I think Zoom has protections against that now, but if it's something that's more like high risk or something that's just more a bigger event, I would definitely, I don't know, look at Zoom password protected, or look at another platform that's completely like through the browser or something like that.
I know that for experience with large events that are a lot of people on Zoom, like over 150 to 300 or so, I know when Spring Carnival hosted their Tartan's Got Talent show during virtual Spring Carnival weekend, we had to have a couple people sort of ready to go in the Zoom call. So it was password protected, and then you did have to have an Android ID to sort of log into it, but we still wanted to make sure that we were watching the chat. And so having one person assigned to the chat and sort of, if there were questions or anything, answering in there. One person to go ahead and watch the participants to make sure that people are muted, or if we were having cameras turned off, to make sure all the cameras were turned off and not turned on. So sort of assigning people different roles within your Zoom call is helpful. Great. Does anyone else have any final? Yeah, go ahead, Emily.
I was going to throw in 2 more cents about Zoom while we were on the topic. One thing we did this spring, I unfortunately didn't get a chance to talk to, is we did a show like with using Zoom as a setting. It was an original work, and it was really cool. And they actually did it in webinar mode. So any viewers weren't able to turn on their cameras or turn on their microphones. They also weren't able to use the chat. And they had it set up in such a way that whenever you turned your camera off, you disappeared from the screen, so people could like enter and exit through this Zoom call. But I had never seen Zoom in webinar mode before, and it seems like it worked very well for this event, and I'm sure it could translate very well to other events as well. So check it out if you haven't already.
Great. Well, I just want to say that it is amazing to hear all the things that your organizations have done and how you all have adapted to operating virtually. So thank you all for sharing all the great work that you have done. I can't wait to continue to watch all the innovative things that you all come up with in this virtual space and still are able to meet your organization's mission and goals. Like I mentioned earlier, Slice can be helpful in sort of operating virtually and switching programs and services over. So if you have any specific questions that you're hoping to have answered, please feel free to reach out to Slice and we can set up a meeting and help you out. Other than that, have a great rest of your summer, everyone. Stay safe, wear a mask, and we'll see you around hopefully soon.